Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Final Flight podcast and the weighing room review. And we are back once again. Myself and Rich Joe is running a little bit late, but hopefully a bit of jumping in a bit. But we are joined again by another fantastic jockey guest, Jason Hart. Good evening, mate, and thanks for coming on. How are you?
Very well, lads. Very good.
Well, like I said, mate, we do appreciate you coming on. We've obviously had a good start to this little series where we're trying to get you guys on the flat jockeys to give us a little bit more of the intelligent insight, we like to say, from people within these races that we're enjoying watching so much, rather than kind of us two just babbling on. But hopefully we'll have some good insight off you, and we can also add to that as well. So right. The plan, as we normally do, is we're going to review a little bit of the weekend. And then and we'll carry on doing it the same we've done every week so far. But we're going to start off straight away with yourself, Jason. So the Bronte Cup was the one we like to start with. I kind of picked this one because Rachel Blackmore managed to get the winner of this. So the jump's taken over the flat, as I can see. But so what, from your sort of point of view, looking at this sort of race, what do you think? What did you think of the way it was run, and how could we maybe take the form going forward?
Form's a kind of hard one to take because I rode in the race. On paper, there wasn't much pace, and I rode a horse who had only ever ran over a mile and a quarter previous, and I was sort of able to get to the front and dictate a sort of medium pace, really. I thought the eventual winner, I thought, done well to win, coming from where she came from, in a steadily run race. But on York, it tends to be one of those tracks where if you can get rolling off the off the front, really, it can be hard to peg you back. So the winner done well to win, I thought.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things you said there. Maybe it's quite tough to take that form back. Us guys watching it, we can we can take it as a sort of what we see on the screen. But when you talk about pace, and we've had the previous jockeys come on before and say, I won't really take this form because we went no pace whatsoever, or we went too much of a pace, and we can't really see that too well. So to get that sort of insight from yourself is fantastic. Rich, what did you make of the race, mate?
I thought it was a good race. Quite very competitive. I mean, these sort of races always are. I mean, you had Marie's What was the interesting one for Henderson. You had, like you say, Rachel Blackmore winning it for the Bromhead. I mean, it was a good battle. I thought Night Sparkle was quite unlucky, actually. I think he got bumped by the eventual winner, maybe a furlong, 2 furlongs out. But they pulled well clear of third, River of Stars. And, yeah, I thought Rachel Blackmore was always doing enough. And, it was a good race.
Love that. Well, another one for the jump. So I'm counting that towards the jumps results there. Moving on then, guys. So, Jason, the Temple Stakes was the next one we're going to mention over at Haydock. One of the podcast favourites in here, Living the Dream for the Adam West team, come second. Kurdos for Richard Kingsgoat got the eventual win. I thought it looked quite well in the with 7 questions. A previous winner in third. Did you manage to watch this race and sort of what did you make of this race?
I thought it was actually quite a strong renewal of the Temple. It can be one of those races where you get a small field and usually, I don't know, for whatever reason at Haydock, the ground always goes at the wrong time for them. And they usually end up getting a small field for the Temple. But I thought the winner is a horse who's been sort of bubbling along nicely. Clive Cox looks like he's taking his time with him. I've ridden him before and actually rode him in a handicap at York. And he's a horse who, when everything drops right, has got a serious engine, but does need everything to drop right. Mm-hmm. The day I rode him, he got stuck on a wing a bit and just ran too free and never quite seen his race out. Richard got the dream run into the race. Obviously, Living the Dream takes him along invariably every time. So he was always kind of going to be able to get latched onto the back of him and able to get the horse to settle. And I think that's how we seen Kurdos finish his race off so strongly.
Yeah, I think he got a perfect toe in there. I mean, I'll come to you, Rich. It's normal when you sort of see Living the Dream out in front there. They're quite hard to peg back, but like Jason said there, Kurdos finished his race off so well there once he'd settled a little bit better. What did you make of it? And do you think he got a bit more in him going forward?
I I mean, I was on the dream. I thought the soft ground was perfect, but obviously he just didn't win his race.
Second last, mate. Just letting you know.
Yes, thank you very much. These 5 furlong sprints are very tricky, I think, in my eyes. I mean, you've got to break well. Living the dream was away quickly. You know, I thought he had it in the bag, and then Kurdos just, I don't know, came from nowhere pretty much. But I mean, looking back at the form, he did run in the is it the Bay in France? The same one that I think Jason won at Eiffel Princess.
Yeah.
I think he finished 8th. So, like you say, he's a good horse, and we probably should have seen that he had that ability in him. But yeah, like I say, I was on the dream, so I wasn't too impressed. But it was a good race to watch.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree with what Jason said there. I thought it was a very strong renewal, and I think the winner, was pretty impressive there, to be honest. So I'd definitely be keeping him on side going forward.
I just think, lads, as well, with Living the Dream being in the race based on the form around Living the Dream, he's going to be one of those horses this year where even if he does go off blistering fast, no one's going to give him an inch. I think you're going to see this year in the sprint division, well, in races that he runs in, so I presume he'd probably be, I don't know if they'd go to Ascot, maybe they could go to Sandown, but like the Nunthorpe and stuff like that, he's always going to be the sort of target horse. He's going to be the horse that's going to give something that needs a lead into a race for far enough. And it sounded like Adam West had left a bit to work on with the horse, but he could just be one of those horses that makes those 5 furlong sprints this year a bit more interesting, where there's kind of always going to be a pace to run it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, to be honest. I think you're bang right. I think, like you say, they know what they're going to do, and nobody's going to let them get away too much. And if you need that toe in, that's sort of the ideal situation. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that angle in the next couple of races. The other one then that we were going to mention is another race at Haydock. We thought we'd leave the Irish stuff for the people at bay, but Haydock was the Sandy Lane, and I was really impressed with this winner, Innes Sherin, Kevin Ryan, Tom Eves Road. You had a few decent horses in behind here. Jason, did you manage to watch this race, the Class 1s over 6 furlong?
Yeah, the Sandy Lane's always a good stepping stone race. Obviously, he's going to need supplementing if he's to run in the Commonwealth Cup, but I thought it was a shrewd bit of placing by Kevin Ryan. Obviously, he'd ran a solid race in the Guineas off the back of a novice win at Newcastle, so he was a horse who didn't have much experience, and for Kevin to drop him back sprinting, I thought was a bold move, and a move that paid off. Horses tend to get better at sprinting the more they do it, so you could see that even though he's absolutely bolted up, you could see that there would be a bit more improvement in him. Obviously, having run over a mile previously, so he was dropping back down. Ground might have played a little part in it, but I think on the day he was fairly impressive.
Yeah, I think that is quite a keen angle, is that sort of horses dropping back in trip. Sometimes it don't work, but sometimes it works an absolute treat. I mean, Rich, like Jason says there, I mean, it still looked like it was learning on the job, if anything, but also looking, really impressive. What did you make of it? I mean, I was quite taken by the performance, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, visually, he was very impressive, wasn't he? I think the jockey actually said when he was interviewed by ITV that Kevin Ryan said that dropping down to 6 furlongs, he will win next time out. So,
shrewd.
Obviously, the trainer was very, very, very confident. Like I say, soft going probably did help. He was always going to stay the trip, but yeah, I mean, he just pulled away from the field. I mean, you had Horn in second, who ran a blinder. Loves the soft ground. Van Dijk, odds-on shot, getting turned over. Third, I think Simon Christopher, said that he just got tired in that sort of ground. So you can maybe forgive him one run and see how he performs next time out. But fair play to the winner, he looked class, didn't he?
Yeah, and like Jason said earlier, when he said about the ground at Haydock, it was officially soft. It's likely it might have been a little bit softer than maybe that. So if anybody kind of underperformed in those races that maybe don't quite like it too soft, then maybe don't maybe forgive them that run and take them going forward. That's it then, really, for that section. Like I say, we'd just like to have a nice brief review of some of the decent races. And then what we're doing now is, Jace, I'll hand over to my beautiful assistant, Rich, who will just ask you a few questions, really, just a few quiz questions about a few of your rides, and you can give us a bit of insight into those. Take it away, Rich.
Yeah, so the two main ones. The first one is it Brigi?
Breege.
Breege,
His
yes.
pronunciation is absolutely horrendous, just so you know, going forward.
Yeah, we're not the best on here, but yeah,
horrendous. Anything that's slightly like that, no chance.
Yeah, where's all the easy names? Yeah, so we finished third at Goodwood. I mean, there wasn't a lot in it. Short head between the first three. I think he provisionally entered for Epsom at the weekend. I just wondered how you think how the race went. I mean, he stayed on and looked like potentially he could have got there.
She is. I've said it before, but she's the best workhorse I've ever sat on.
Wow.
She won her maiden first time out as a 2-year-old, over 5.5 at Weatherby, and she's not won since. But she's been placed in Group 2s, Group 3s, listed races. She was second in a Sandringham. She brings some really good form.
Yeah.
Epsom's a kind of quirky track, and I've got a feeling that it could just bring the best out in her. Obviously, Goodwood's quirky in a different sense, but those sort of quirkier tracks have seemed to have brought out the best in her so far. She's very, very talented, very talented. I just don't think on a racetrack we've seen her at her best yet. I do think that this year, obviously she's only had the one start this year, but I do think she's taken a big step forward. Not fitness wise, because she was very fit on the day, but I just think the fillies have taken a little bit longer to come to themselves this year with the weather. And I think she looks a hell of a lot better in her skin. She's very talented. She need everything to go right on the day, but yeah. She is very talented.
Do you think she's ground versatile? I mean, she's ran well on good and soft, isn't it?
Yeah, she's ran well on heavy ground at Goodwood one day. That was at the Glorious meeting last year. And she's ran well on quick ground. She's not. I suppose probably quick side of good is probably her preference, but she ran well on everything, so I couldn't really tie her down to saying that she would need a certain type of ground.
Yeah, no, spot on. The next one I think is also visually entered for Epsom. This one's quite easy to pronounce. Due for Luck, third at Chester by a short head, but again, I think he was weaving in and out of horses, coming late on with the charge. I mean, they say Chester's very similar to Epsom. Do you think he's got a chance?
Yeah, he was very unlucky at Chester. Just as the gates opened, he just stood for a split, well, not even a split second, less than that, and just put us on the back foot. And then I just had to sit and suffer. I'd planned on riding him, either making the running or very close to the pace. Yeah. But it's one of those things when they kind of startle at the gates for a second, you've just got to go to plan B. And it was frustrating on the day because he was by far the best horse in that race. Should have won. And it was the day where they sort of had the rail right out, and I was locked up in a pocket, couldn't get out. Should have won. Going to a track like Epsom, it's totally different. I've ridden horses there that I thought would handle the track no problem. Probably two prime examples were Gem Jungle in the race in the 3-year-old dash last year. I thought he'd have no problems with it. He didn't handle it at all. And funnily enough, a horse who actually won at the track back in the day, and then he ran and he'd won over in a smaller field earlier on in the year, and then went to the dash, and the pace that they go on the dash is unlike any other race. You've got Abbeys and Nunthorpes and stuff, but the dash it's so much quicker.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a real well balanced horse, and hopefully Due for Luck can hit the gates and get running and get himself in a position after that first road.
Just needs a bit of luck. Pardon the pun.
And well,
yeah. I like that. And yeah, he must have a great chance. I mean, if you rewatch the race, he comes like a train, James. The last one, obviously, we'll keep it quite recent. I mean, you won today at Redcar on JM Jingri.
Jingri.
They don't make it easy for us, with these names.
I mean, how did that race go? Were you happy with it? Do you think?
Yeah, obviously it was nice to get the bus off the mark with 2 roads this year. We've not ran many. Like I was saying earlier, the weather's kind of put a lot of trainers back and kind of haven't been able to get on grass as early on in the year as we would previously. So 2 roads are a little bit further behind, but it was nice to get a 2-road winner. The first one's always good because then you've kind of got a gauge on where the rest of them are at. So it was good for him to get his head in front. Obviously, he only won half or 3/4 of a length, but then it was a long way back to the third. So it was nice that he could progress on his first run. Obviously, he ran at Thirsk first time, finishing 5th, but that race actually worked out quite well. There was a few winners came out of that race, so it was nice that he could get his head in front, and hopefully it gives us a bit of a gauge on the rest of them.
No, spot on. They're the 3 that I had, so no, good stuff.
I suppose what I'll do is then I'll just have a quick question there. You mentioned about sometimes there's a horse that might not handle a course like Epsom. Obviously, we're going into the big weekend. So when you say they don't handle it, what would you say it is that they don't quite handle, or in your experience when a horse you've come away thinking that horse didn't handle that course? What is it that's giving you that feeling? If that question makes sense.
Yeah, so Epsom's unique, and if you went to Epsom on a normal day and you went to Epsom on Derby day, it's like 2 totally different things. So horses got to have, if you go on Derby day, horses got to have a great mental attitude because they've got to take so much in. Obviously you've got the funfair and all that going on in the middle, and you've got all the razzmatazz on the paddock side. So there's plenty going on. So horses got to be really mentally able. Got to have a good, strong mind to take all that in. The track is so from sort of the 6th furlong, you start rolling downhill into Tattenham Corner. Tattenham Corner is quite well, it's unique. Everyone knows how unique Tattenham Corner is, but you're running downhill on a turn, and then when you meet the straight, it's downhill and you're on a camber, and some horses just can't get themselves balanced on it. I often find it easier to get a horse balanced on the track when the ground is softer and you go over to the stand rail, but every horse is different. So like I say, some of them don't handle it the actual occasion, and then some of them just can't get their legs organised on the track. But when you get one that does handle the track, it's pretty plain sailing for them. But when you get one that doesn't handle the track, then it can be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Brilliant. Right, fantastic. Thank you for that, Jason. Well, the next section is what we've done in the first couple of episodes is we've asked the guest for sort of like a couple of horses to follow, or it could be horses that you're maybe going to ride or that you're riding out and things like that. Maybe we haven't seen or something we have seen. Just anyone who we might be keeping out for the next few weeks or for the rest of the season. Do you manage to have any for us?
One that I thought of, she was actually a winner at Goodwood the other day. She won a listed race, was Francophilia, a homebred of Kirsten Rousens, trained by Charlie Johnston, Joe Fannin rode her, and just looks like the type of horse. She ran she won a novice and then ran in the Musadora, dropped back down at the listed company and won, and she just looks like the type of filly that could progress throughout the year. She might be able to, obviously, what Kirsten Rosen's like with her horses. She likes to campaign them internationally as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if you've seen her rock up in Germany or France. But I think she's a filly who will progress throughout the year and looked a typical Johnson horse, got her head down and galloped through the line strongly.
Fantastic, love that. We'll keep an eye out where she ends up next then. Before we move on then to sort of the last sort of, I've got one more that I'm going to ask you about now. I don't know if you know, but I'm a big Leeds fan, and yesterday was a horrendous day for me. I don't know if you're into football, but
No clue.
well, you're actually booked to ride a horse called Premiership, I believe, on Wednesday. So I just wondered if I could ask you about that one, with the fact that the name's absolutely brilliant, and I'm hoping this could get me a little bit of happiness. Do you think that's going to go well?
The horse of Michael Wiggums.
I think it is, yes.
Yeah. Rode him at Pontefract and ran absolutely no race, and I don't know why. Got the sort of perfect Pontefract position just in behind the leaders, and thought when I turned into the straight, all I had to do was pick the leader up and I would win. And he found absolutely nothing. He's got cheek pieces on Wednesday. Beverly could suit, just the sort of demands of the track could suit him. But he'd have to put some disappointing runs behind him, to be honest.
You think?
But
The
headgear, hopefully that can shape his head up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Pontefract's local to me. Do you think it was anything to do with the uniqueness of Pontefract, or was it just a completely? I don't really know what didn't happen.
Yeah, it was a complete head scratcher because he was a course and distance winner. So how he ran so bad, I have no clue. Because, like I say, I thought turning into the straight, he was a horse who was going to take all the beating, and no sooner had I thought that, and I was tailed off. So, yeah, hopefully the headgear can make him change his mind.
Hopefully, I mean, to be fair, it was soft ground. We do a lot of stuff on Pontefract. You know, it can be a bit of a very brutal course sometimes. It's certainly not giving me many winners so far this season, but hopefully that one. You got Rich?
A low draw is what you want.
Yeah, low draw. Were you drawing low? Were you drawing out wide on that one? Can you remember?
I think it was in the middle somewhere.
I think I was maybe 4 or 5, was it?
6. I've got you out. Oh, you were way too wide, Jason. Way too wide in the way. Don't worry. It was all down to the draw. So yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. Well, fantastic. Fingers crossed, and hopefully you can get. Hopefully it turns up with the cheater pieces on, and he goes and wins for you. Right then. So that's that sort of section phase. We'll come to the last one. We've kind of gone a bit quick for this without having Joe, but. Rich, have you got a couple of? I've been a bit busy, so I've not managed to get one. But I believe you've got a couple of eye catchers to finish off.
Yeah, there's 2 that I've kind of noted, both at York on the Saturday. So the first one was for Hugo Palmer, Stratus 9. I think it was the second race in the novice. I mean, if you watch the race, he was out the back, and then. Well, it's one of those ones where he typically comes on late and just fails. I mean, he lost by a neck to the Burt course, but you'd think with that sort of with just normal improvement from there, you'd have thought that he won't be long before he's getting his head in front. I mean, he was 18-1, so he wasn't really fancied, but he ran a blinder in that one. And the other one was also at York in the last race, I think it was. Yeah, the last race. For Ed Walker, again, Kieran Schumacher was on board. Dream Rocker was one that I've noted. Again, was out the back all from the majority of the race. Again, pushed along two furlongs out, and then stayed on strongly towards the line. And I think he was maybe 1.5 lengths from first. But if you go back and rewatch it, there's a lot of work to do, and he's done it well. And I thought potentially he's got, again, some more improvement to come, and won't be long before he's getting his head in front.
Love that. Fantastic. We'll keep an eye on those 2. And that's kind of it for the show, really. I know it's going a little bit quicker than usual, but I think there's a couple of final points I just wanted to sort of say to you, Jason, is just obviously thank you for coming on. You know, we've had a couple of, we've had Jason Watson come on, Oisin Murphy so far. We had a really successful series with the jumps, and we really do just appreciate you guys coming on, because like when we use the weekends racing and some of these big races as trying to, get the winners for later on, and having this little bit of insight, especially when you've rode in these races and things like that, it's absolute gold for us. So just again, thank you very much for coming on. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself.
No, thanks for having us, lads.
Good man. Well, Rich, you got anything else to say?
No, I just tried to reiterate what you said. It's great to get jockeys on to talk through the races, because your average punter probably doesn't understand like pace angles, draws, how racing sort of styles. They just think, oh, the horse finished 6, it came nowhere, must be rubbish. So yeah, just to get some sort of, I don't know, what's it called, like theory or some knowledge to back up the theory is just quite useful, isn't it?
It certainly is. Well, Jason, thank you again for coming on. And I suppose the last thing to say is obviously we're gonna GSI into the Due for Luck and Breeze double at the weekend. So good luck with those rides, mate, and fingers crossed for you.
Top man. Cheers, mate.
And good luck on Wednesday as well with Premiership. And thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers, Jason.
Thanks,
Cheers
guys.
everyone for watching, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you all next time. Thank you and goodbye.